Hey there, beginning farmer friends. I am coming to you from the shed that is still mostly empty, but man, I just noticed we've got these bison that we've got to get out of here. How did they get in here? What I want to do today, we're just doing odd jobs today. There are just a bunch of little things that I want to get done. I'll probably work a little bit on the grinder mixer right here. I'll probably take some time pulling some of these, or attempting to pull some of these ground rods. I've got a couple ideas on that. Do some chores, odd jobs, things like that. But what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to tell you the story of this shed, or the story of the plan for this shed that got derailed, and now 4 years later we're finally getting to it. By the way, it is a gorgeous day today. It is windy again, but yesterday it was windy and nearly 80 degrees. Today it's windy and nearly 50 degrees. I absolutely love 50-degree days. If you've been following along for a while, you'll know that this is our freezer room. Let me give you a quick tour. 1 freezer, 2 freezer, 3 freezer, 4 freezer, 5 freezer. We have 5 freezers in here. In fact, there used to be 6 freezers in here, but now instead we've got a son in here. Right on the other side of this wall is our house, and the plan was always to be able to make this part of our house. I don't know if you know this about us, but we are a family of 8. 6 kids, 2 parents. Our kids range from 16, he's working on school right back here, to 2 years old, she's taking a nap next door. And there is a lot of bodies in our 1,400 square foot house. So this little area, even though it's only 12 by 10 or somewhere along those lines, it would be huge. In fact, the idea once we get the shed is not only this area becomes part of the house, but this area becomes part of the house, which is 10 by 12 again. So that makes it 10 by 24. That would be a big addition to the house. I think the first thing that I'm going to tackle today is this thing. As you see, that wood block is pretty mangled up and the bolt is mangled up, so I'm going to have to do a little work to get that off. This locking collar, I'm going to put some blue Loctite on all these set screws on there and on this piece right here. But the first thing I need to do is finish getting the rest of the machine key out of the slot here on that, and then I can start messing around with this locking collar, get ready to put this back on. We're just going to do a little bit so that once we get that wood block, it should be a pretty easy fix. I think I'm gonna have to hit this with some emery cloth real quick here before I drive it on too far. So the problem that we have is I don't have the tools. What I really need is at least a round file, or at best like a Dremel or a sanding grinder that I could go down in there. When it got to the edge of this, it kind of, I think basically what happened is it sheared off some of that key and put the metal all the way around the inside of this, and so I've got a big ridge and I can't get that ridge off. I guess we're just going to take this wood block off and then we'll go on to the next thing. All right, here's what I got. Obviously, this is the gear. You saw I need to do some repair on that. This is the bolt and the washer and the nut. This is the wood block. And then, of course, the broken key, machine key, and the new machine key. Let's talk about the shed. So as you can see, this building project behind me is not just about having a walk-in freezer, place to work on tractors, things like that. It's also about the family and about having a place for our family, and you know, a growing family. Not that we're having more kids, but our kids are getting bigger. So we sold a bunch of cows, breeding cows, because we had too many cows for our land base, and we had the money then to start this project. The plan was coming together, that is, until the 4020 broke. The transmission went out on it. It had a power shift transmission. The transmission went out. That meant that the money that we had from selling cows had to be used to buy a new tractor. We ended up getting another 4020, in case you are wondering. When I can't get anything out of the grinder mixer, this is an access here. I just open the door and scoop it out with a feed scoop if I need to get a little feed for chickens or a few pigs, something like that. So that's what I'm gonna do now. It was kind of crushing when the tractor broke for a couple reasons. One, it was the family tractor and I no longer was being able to use it. I was the 3rd generation to use that tractor on a farm, and so that was crushing. But then, of course, there was this real reality. A real reality, is that a thing? This real reality that we needed to get a new tractor, and that was going to take the money for the shed project away. I think it's about time to make this red F-250 disappear. I can't keep the batteries charged. The batteries are toast. The engine is toast. I don't really want to put any money in it to run around on the farm. I would rather save that money and get a four-wheeler. Maybe it's time to take the flatbed off, take the water tank off. It seems like the most efficient plan. Let's try something here. I saw this on YouTube. I don't know if it's going to work, but I've got all these ground rods in here and I need to get those out of the ground. So there is a little nut on here that holds the wires on, a wire clamp. But then we're going to try to pull them out using a chain, the loader, and a pipe wrench. By the way, if this doesn't work, I'm still going to put it in the video just so you know. Look at that. It worked. I need to find a place to put these now. Let me go show you what I'm thinking. I'm going to mount the fencer over here. I'm going to build a box that it can be contained in so it's 100% out of the weather. I'll have to run electricity over here, obviously, but if I put it here, then along the back side of this shed, where obviously it's a huge mess right now, then I can put all my ground rods out here along the back side of this shed. The idea by getting it over here, I think it'll cut out a lot of potential short areas. It'll give us a good place to put those ground rods. It is a better solution than where we have it right now. I'm really glad that pulling those out of the thing worked. Boy, YouTube is incredible. And there's all these channels where you can learn, like the Beginning Farmer channel. Like, subscribe, comment. The funny thing is, and when I say funny, I don't mean like funny haha, I mean like funny, how could that happen? Is that on the day that we had the concrete contractor come out to talk to us and give us a bid, that's the day that the 4430 had the hydraulic pump go poo. That's why we have the 4010 right now. The difference is, this year, we're gonna continue on with the project. We're gonna make it through. It wasn't a tractor ending breakdown, it was just a tractor needing repair breakdown, so we are getting concrete in the shed. There is one more thing though, like this is the freezer behind me right now, but where the freezer sits and where I'm standing right now, this was going to be the big project for 2020. Back in March, when we were planning what was going to happen this year, the thing that we said needs to happen before anything else on the farm is we need to build a farrowing building so we can reliably farrow in November, December, February, things like that. And so we had come up with a plan. We had talked to a farmer that we really appreciate and respect about putting up a farrowing greenhouse, because that's something they had done before. And we said, before we do anything else on the farm, we're going to build a farrowing greenhouse right here. Now there's a freezer back there and we're putting concrete in a shed and building a shop and a freezer room. Things have changed quite a bit. There are a lot of reasons why we decided to go with that project instead of this farrowing greenhouse, although in March I was all in on the farrowing greenhouse. I'm not going to get into all of those right now. By the way, these pigs back here are in electric fence training school. That's why they're behind me. But I think for where we are right now, as important as the farrowing building would be, this is maybe more important for our business and our family and those kinds of things. The farrowing building, it's going to come and it's got to happen soon. We're going to do some test farrowing this winter in that chicken shed slash farrowing building that I used for the meat chickens this year. But next year, I think we need to come up with a little bit better plan for farrowing. Maybe we'll do 2 projects 2 years in a row. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe a tractor will break down next year. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I do know that we are so close to concrete in that shed, and then the freezer, and then a shop. It's not all going to happen at once, but eventually some of those things will start to happen. I've got my bison here. I'm herding it back into the back of the shed. I do want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Thank you for following along on this journey. I hope that you're finding it, I don't know, somewhat entertaining, somewhat informational. I think the best thing that I can do is like share the story of our small scale farm, share how decisions are made, or sometimes how decisions are made for us. What I want to show is what the journey is really like. As far as the shed goes, we're pretty much at the point where when he shows up, the contractor shows up and is ready to start digging and moving and sorting stuff around, we're ready for them. There's a few things that I got to take care of in here, but those are more like day of things than need to be done days in advance. There are other projects though that need to happen on the outside of this shed. I started working on some of those today. I'll bring you along with me on those and whatever else goes on around the farm. I hope you guys are having a great day. I, for one, really enjoyed this 50-degree day in Iowa. It was beautiful. I hope it's beautiful where you are.